Good afternoon. I'm Corporal Dave Stokes, the Public Information Officer with the Annapolis Police Department. First, I'd like to thank everyone for coming today. Today we have elected officials here, our acting mayor, Rhonda Pindell-Charles, Alderman Dewan Gay, and Alderwoman Ellie Tierney, along with our Chief of Police behind me and other command staff members. Today, our acting mayor and our chief of police are going to speak on a recent spike in violence and some of the shootings where 2 arrests have been made. With that being said, I'd like to introduce our acting mayor, Rhonda Pindell-Charles, come to the podium.
Thank you, Corporal Stokes. Good afternoon. As you know, recently we've had a spate of unfortunate incidences that have occurred in the city of Annapolis. We're here today to give you an update on what is occurring and what will be occurring in the future. As the acting mayor today, as well as the alderwoman who represents Ward 3, I am also the chair of our Public Safety Standing Committee for the council. I work closely with police, fire, and the Office of Emergency Management. Our public safety team has done a phenomenal job in investigating these incidences. We are committed, totally committed, to the public safety of our residents as well as our businesses. Our quality of life for our residents and businesses is paramount. I'm a retired prosecutor in Baltimore City, but a lifetime resident of the city of Annapolis. My family's been here for well over 100 years. So I'm totally committed to what we are doing here in this city to make sure that our residents stay safe, feel safe, are able to go to work comfortably, have the children play outside. And so that's why we're here today, to bring you up to speed. And like I said, totally committed to what we can do to ensure the public safety of our residents, our children, as well as our businesses. Thank you. And I'm going to turn it over now to our Chief of Police, Chief Ed Jackson. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Acting Mayor Pindell-Charles. Before I get started, real quickly, I'm going to introduce my command staff. To my left is Stanley Bradford, commander of the Cold Case Squad and Reentry. Okay, to my left, Stan Bradford. He is the commander of the Cold Case Squad, and also he's overseeing my reentry program. I'll explain a little later on. I guess it would be to his right, I'm not looking back. To his right would be Captain Mark Seidel, Chief of CID. I think in the middle to his right is the Deputy Chief Paul Herman. To Deputy Chief Paul Herman's right, I guess he is Captain Tim Lowe. He's the Chief of Patrol. He's in charge of uniform services. And of course, Corporal Stokes and the mayor have already introduced themselves. What I wanted to do today is kind of give an overview, and this is primarily for the citizens of Annapolis and for those who come into the city to work, do business, as tourists, whatever your purpose is for being here. I want to assure you as the Chief of Police, we're doing all that we can to make sure that your experience here is a safe one, in addition to being a very pleasant one. We're living in very unusual times. I know it's the first time in my lifetime that I've experienced a pandemic that's caused us to alter our way of life. What I don't want to happen with the altering of how we do business is for crime to emerge. What I don't want is for people who don't mean any of us any good and whose purpose every day they get up is to undermine the good order of our community to exploit this pandemic. So what I want to do is talk about violence real briefly, a spate of violence that's occurred towards the end of July, beginning on beginning on June 24th. The recent shootings, and give you an update on the outcome of those recent shootings. And also, I would be remiss if I didn't thank the tireless work of the men and women of the Annapolis Police Department, both uniform and our detectives. Our detectives have worked tirelessly, sometimes 72 hours without sleep, to bring to justice those responsible for violating the law, particularly violent crime and shootings. So beginning on June 24th in the 1500 block of Cedar Park Road, we had a subject who shot from a moving vehicle, striking another vehicle. The vehicle had many occupants. Fortunately, no one was injured as a result of that shooting. The suspect has been identified as 25-year-old Damar Sims. That's Damar Sims of Annapolis. He's been arrested. He's currently in custody. He's been charged with one count of first-degree assault, second-degree assault, reckless endangerment, and multiple handgun violations. He's had previous felony convictions for similar crimes. He's currently in custody. On July 26 at 1207 Forest Drive, we had 3 adult males shot. The victims are Dominic Jennings, Trey Fuller, and Keith Taylor. All 3 of them sustained non-life-threatening injuries, have since been treated and released. We've identified a subject by the name of Deontay Sims of Annapolis. He has been arrested and he's currently being held at the detention center without bail. His charges include attempted first-degree and second-degree murder, along with other handgun charges and various assault charges. Then, of course, on July 27, we had the unfortunate death of the youngest victim in the history of Annapolis, and that was Cameron Wallace, who was shot in the 1800 block of Bowman Drive. He was shot and killed. We are currently investigating this crime 24 hours a day. Our detectives are working as we speak. They're working tirelessly. They're being relieved. So we are going to work until we find out who is responsible for the death of 14-year-old Cameron Wallace. We've asked our federal partners, our state partners, we've asked many of our partners in the intelligence community. We're going to leave no stone unturned. We're going to follow up with every investigative lead that we've had until we find the person who's responsible for this crime, for this murder, and take him into custody. On July 28th, the next day, in the same street, 1800 block of Bowman Drive in Annapolis Gardens, we had another 17-year-old who was shot in the leg. He's since been released with non-life-threatening injuries. We don't know if those two are related, and I'll answer questions in a minute, but we're currently pursuing all those leads. I say all this to say that in spite of all the challenges that we face, we have a lot of programs to engage the community. I've always argued since I've been chief of police, in order for us to prevent crime, we have to attack the problems that cause crime in the first place. We have to deal with all those sociological issues that cause the social disorganization and crime. And we're willing to work with people with everything from reentry. Reentry is when people are released from custody. We'll help them find jobs. We'll help them in any kind of way that we have the ability to do to make sure that they don't reoffend. We want to work with youth groups. We have a lot of things planned. The COVID-19 pandemic has altered some of the plans that we had entering into this year. But I want to make this perfectly clear. Mayor Gavin Buckley and the Annapolis Police Department is committed to providing public safety. As much as we want to engage, we want to be fair, firm, and enforce the law in compliance with the United States Constitution. One of the biggest civil rights issues of our day is homicide. Every citizen has a right to walk up and down these streets free and clear with the expectation of going home, back home to their families safely. So I want the citizens of Annapolis, the entire Annapolis community, people who come here, people who work here, even if you don't live here, if you're here to enjoy the beauty of the city, I want you to know that every effort that we have the ability to make to ensure your safety, we're going to do. Thank you.
Chief, you had talked about those the homicide and the shooting right afterwards. And one could assume a possibility of these kind of an ongoing feud. Have you guys found that to be such?
We don't have any information right now to suggest that. It's a theory of ours. It stands to reason that they happen a day apart and at the same location, so we can't rule that out. I'm not prepared today to say exactly what the motive was, although I'm confident to say in the very near future, just as we did with Dante and Damar Sims, I'll be confident in the near future, once we have these persons in custody and establish probable cause, to be able to articulate what the motive was for that both shootings, the homicide and the shooting the very next day.
Are these crimes indigenous to Annapolis? Are you seeing an influx of Baltimore City and Washington coming over, or how characterize that?
Yes, the best characterization that I can give is that violent crime is up all across the country. Annapolis is not immune. If you look and pay attention to every major jurisdiction in the United States, every city has experienced an influx or an increase in violent crime. There's a lot of theories for it, the protests, the recent civil unrest in the aftermath of the death of George Floyd. It depends on who you talk to, but the bottom line is that this problem that we're experiencing here in Annapolis is not unique just to Annapolis. It's occurring all across the country. What I don't want to happen is that we're not in front of it. And I want to send a strong message to those who may watch this, is that if you commit a violent crime, we're going to come after you. With the full force of the law, we're going to come after you.
Chief, you talked about the 2 arrests that you guys made recently. Tell us how this came about, where this evidence came from.
It came about good old-fashioned work with the help of the community and the real diligent work. And I have to emphasize that, the help of the community, but diligent work from Captain Seidel's troops, his detectives, hours and hours looking at video footage, interviewing witnesses, and putting the pieces together. We were able to come to the identification and establish probable cause to arrest these subjects. But I think if I could answer it in a nutshell, it's just good hard work and taking advantage of all the technology at our disposal that helped us bring these 2 individuals and take them into custody.
Are they both Annapolis residents?
Yes, ma'am. They're both from the city of Annapolis. Yes, ma'am.
So it's pretty localized crime.
Well, it could be. I'm not poised to say that indefinitely. The investigations, even the ones that are in custody, the investigation is ongoing. And what we're doing, me and my command staff are gathering an intelligence network. What we hope to do very soon is to put together an intelligence network so I can inform the community. I don't know if it extends beyond the limits of the city of Annapolis and goes into other areas of Anne Arundel County. I don't know if it's connected to Baltimore City. All those things are currently being looked at.
You talked just briefly about the importance of the community with providing input anonymously, probably. And would you speak to that relationship, and where are we with the Citizens Advisory Committee?
I've been delighted. I've had, in the last 90 days, more people than I'd ever thought possible who want to partner with the Annapolis Police Department. We're even seeing an increased trust in the community. People are coming forward now anonymously, and we don't care how we get the information. We have to corroborate that information anyway. If somebody gives us information, it's not enough to say John Smith committed that murder. We have to also substantiate that claim. And so what we're getting now, we're getting all kinds of information from the community that when I first got here a year ago, we haven't received. So we're slowly chiseling away that distrust, that disconnect between the community and the police. I'll go on record to say you'll never have peace and prosperity in the community. The police can never do its job unless we have the full cooperation of the community. Our ability to protect the community lies solely in the community having trust and faith that we can do the job and do it effectively.
Chief, you were on the June 26th visit, we had the Triple City at the Sunoco station.
Yes, sir.
You arrested Deontay Sims, and from what I understand from the Capitol article, is that was using community cameras to identify them. Can you tell me whether they were like residential community cameras or they city-owned cameras? And also, did you use facial recognition to identify the suspect?
We did both, and I know a lot of these facilities, it was with the aid of both private property and city-owned cameras. And where it's the detectives really did their job is it takes a lot of time to piece the two together to show the flow. You know, we have tag readers, all types of technology, most of which the Annapolis Police Department instituted to make sure, even on private property, we received permission and the authorization from some private areas to install some of our equipment to help us and aid us in our investigations. I don't know if there's anything else you want to add to that.
Just the fact that no facial recognition software was used in any of the apprehensions.
Okay, thank you.
If you would, sir, on the Citizens Advisory Council, is that still something that's coming down?
Yes, we've had. I talked to them about 2 weeks ago. We've had a wonderful conversation. Of course, with the pandemic, all of our conferences have been virtual, and I'm a people type person. I said that today. I get frustrated with that Brady Bunch type grid, where you have to look down the box at somebody below you and try to talk. So I'll be glad when this pandemic passes, because I'm an interpersonal type guy and I like to meet in person. But I have, to answer your question, yes ma'am, I met with them a couple of weeks ago. I briefed them on the events, on what we're doing about them. At the time, I didn't have as much information as I have now, but we had a wonderful conversation, and they asked, along with the Police Foundation and other philanthropic organizations, how can they support us in this effort? Because what I don't want to happen is that we still have an opportunity to, with everybody's support, not just the police, but with the community and our civic and social and business organizations, to limit the amount of crime and social disorganization that comes into the city of Annapolis. I'm very hopeful.
I know the faith community has stepped up in several.
The faith community has stepped up. I don't want to leave anybody out. Yes, ma'am, I'm glad you brought that up, because I would be remiss to not mention the faith community. Thank you so much, and they've been wonderful. We don't know. We're still trying to establish that. I can't say definitively that they're related. I personally theorize that they are, but we're still looking into that. And hopefully I can answer that question in the very near future.
And is anybody related to the 14-year-old?
Yes, the 14-year-old Damar is his brother. They live at the same address.
All right, thanks, Chief.
Thank you.